In this movie, we'll take a look at how you can get your program out of Final Cut Pro by using one of the many available sharing templates. Most are pretty plug and play, so I won't spend a lot of time on things that probably seem fairly standard, but I do at least want to introduce you to some of the possibilities. I'm going to go into my 12.3 keyword collection, and here is the project I want to export. So I'm just going to come up to the sharing menu here. And in the previous movie, we looked at how to export a master file. But as you can see, there are quite a few other choices that mostly have to do with sending the file directly to social media-based web platforms, as well as optimizing for various Apple devices, and of course, DVD and Blu-ray. If the option you want is not in this list, you can come up to File, Share, and then Add Destination, and then drag your option over here into the list. And then that option is available from this dropdown. So let me first touch on exporting for web-based platforms. Each of the options allows you to input your username and password for immediate access to popular video hosting sites. I'll show you YouTube, but just know that the other social media options, Vimeo, Facebook, and the like, are virtually identical. So I'll choose that. And if you watched the previous movie on exporting a master file, this window is virtually identical on the Info tab. You can skim through your project here. You can name it, you can give it a description, you can give it tags. And I'll leave the tags on here for now because I'm going to show you that these show up in YouTube when you publish it. Along the bottom are the settings, and if you'd like to change any of those, then you head over to Settings. Now this is where my options are much more limited, but I can change a few things. So depending on your project settings, you'll have various choices under this pull-down menu here for resolution. So my project is 1280 by 720, so that's what's selected by default. But if I chose a large or SD resolution, notice that the settings along the bottom change. But I'll switch back to HD for my export. And then down here for compression, I have better quality and faster encode. Better quality is a multipass compression, which means that Final Cut first analyzes the video and then compresses it. This will result in a sharper, smaller file, but it will take a little longer. And faster encode is a single pass compression, which means that the video is compressed on the fly, but it'll be quicker. I also have a couple of YouTube-specific settings where I can choose to make the video private, unlisted, or public, and I can also assign a category. So like I said, pretty plug and play, and when I press Next, I get YouTube's message warning me not to upload copyrighted material, and then as soon as I hit Publish, Final Cut is going to encode the file and upload it automatically to YouTube. Now because this does take some time, I've already done this, so let me cancel out of here, and then open up my YouTube page. And here it is. Here's the title, here's the description I had, here are the tags that I had in Final Cut, and of course I can add or change any of these as I need to. And I'm going to head back over to Final Cut. All right, so I'm going to come back up to my Share menu, and like I said, the other social media options are very similar, so you can check those out. But I do want to cover a couple of these Apple devices templates. By default, it provides two, the 720p and the 1080p flavors for Apple devices. And many of the options within this are very similar to the ones that we just covered, but there are some differences, so I'll go over those. I'm going to actually select the 720p option, since that's what my sequence is, but just know that the 1080p option is very similar. So I'll select this, and again, we have an identical Info tab. Here's my program. I have my title, description, here are my tags. These are the settings along the bottom, and as I hover my mouse over this icon, it shows you the devices that this particular setting is optimized for. So I'll go to Settings, and this should look familiar if you watched the previous movie. Under Format, we looked at the video and audio mastering option, which again gave us only one device that it was optimized for, our Mac, because we're making a high-quality screener. But when we switch the format to Apple devices, it's going to streamline the video codec so that we get all of these options. And so if I look under video codec, I no longer have 16 available options, I just have two, both H.264, faster encode and better quality, and I talked about what those meant in the YouTube example. Under resolution, I can output at my current sequence resolution of 1280 by 720, or I can lower the resolution, and of course when I do, you can see that the settings change as well. And I can really reduce my file size there. But I'll stay at 1280 by 720. I can include chapter markers if I like, and then here, the default option is to send it to iTunes. And the reason for that is that once it's in iTunes, it makes it very readily available to just transfer right on over to one of my Apple devices. Now again, because this takes just a little bit of time, I have already gone ahead and performed this export. Now finally, I just briefly want to touch on exporting for DVD or Blu-ray. So I'll choose DVD, but just realize that Blu-ray is very similar. And I also want to stress that these are not for complex DVDs that you would expect to create in a DVD authoring program. These are for quick screeners, nothing fancy. All right, so again, identical info tab. If I head over to settings, here's where things get a little different. I'm going to start up here on output device. If you have a built-in DVD drive, you'll most likely choose that option. I'm actually recording this on a MacBook Pro, which does not contain a built-in DVD burner. So I would just create a disk image by selecting hard drive from this menu. Then I could take my disk image to another system that contains a DVD burner and burn it later. Next, you'll choose whether you want your layers to be automatic, single, or dual layer. You'll probably just want to leave this on automatic. If you have a longer movie, you may want to force it to a dual layer DVD for higher quality. If you leave it on automatic, though, no matter what type of blank you insert, a single layer or dual layer writable DVD, Final Cut will adjust to it accordingly. For your build type, you can choose a file, which is going to produce a self-contained disk image file, or you can choose folder, which will arrange the DVD build essentials in a folder hierarchy. Usually a file is fine, but you can check with your DVD authoring software about which is preferred. Next up is your disk template. Pretty basic. You've got black, you've got white, and you've got some of these other graphic options. Or you can actually use a background image. To do that, you come down to Background and click Add, and you can navigate to a specific image. So in the first movie in this chapter, I taught you how to export a still, and here it is, so I'll just choose that one. Coming back up here, when the disc loads, you can tell it to show the menu or play the movie right away. And then here's an option to use chapter markers as subtitles. And this is what it sounds like. You can actually use chapter markers, which we touched on in the previous movie, to subtitle your film. That is, you can create your subtitles as text in the form of chapter markers in Final Cut, like for language translation or extra notes that you want the viewers to see, and then voila, you have perfectly timed subtitles. That's nothing we have for this program, but it can be really useful. You can also add additional features like a loop button on the main menu, as well as a logo graphic, which is like a little bug graphic in the corner of the screen, or a title graphic, which will appear on your DVD menu as a thumbnail. It's a pretty basic menu. When I click Next, I just need to tell it where I want to save the disk image. So that's a quick intro of exporting to DVD. Again, your Blu-ray option will be very similar to that. So as you can see, there are quite a few sharing options that let me send my project to various programs in various formats and for different devices.